Action Park
Media.
Let's get a mic check here. 1 2 1 2. Episode 42. No Gruffs given. Back to regular scheduled programming. Although I think maybe moving forward we might have a few more emergency podcasts if necessary. The world is burning. But in the words of the great Kenny Powers, but sometimes when you bring the thunder, you get lost in the storm. And a true champion face to face with his darkest hour will do whatever it takes to rise above. A man fights and fights and then fights some more. Because surrender is death. And death is for pussies. Episode 42, No Gruffs Given. The great Kenny Powers. I struggle with that, you know. I don't know. I think about it and I say to myself, what a great, you know, we can all be good men. You know, I'll take being a good man versus a great man any day, because if the percentages around us, if we all strive to be, striving to be great is one thing. I mean, that is one thing. But in the process of striving to be great, being good along the way is probably one of the most important attributes, I would say. But sometimes when you bring the thunder, you get lost in the storm, and a true champion face to face with his darkest hour will do whatever it takes to rise above. A man fights and fights and then fights some more, because surrender is death and death is for pussies. I mean, give this guy give that man an Oscar. What a speech. And I went through them. He's got some of the greatest quotes maybe in the history of modern day literature. I mean, I'll put him right up there with Hemingway. It is outstanding. Outstanding. You might ask, I just started, all right, so I am here. Here's where we'll go with it. First of all, I got this written down at the top. I need to remind everyone, buy your cameos, okay? It's Valentine's Day, and I like Valentine's Day cameos because I think you can get a lot off your chest. I think you can make funny, flirty time. It's a great way to maybe slide into somebody's DMs in a non-traditional, you're a creep sliding into a girl's DMs sort of way. Think outside the box. Book a cameo for your mom, for your dad, for your sister who helps you.
Do you remember the Bruce Buffer cameo where he broke up with a girl for a guy?
Great.
So
that's a good time of year also. I mean, you know, think outside the box. I'm in it. I'm in it. Let's go. All right. So I just wanted to make a little housekeeping announcement. Eastbound and Down. Now, this weekend, this Sunday, I am competing in my first jiu-jitsu tournament, the 2023 All-Americas tournament. It's going to be in Norwalk, California, Sunday. It's funny. I got my first stripe on my white belt. But
nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's nice. Yeah, thank you.
You probably felt pretty good about it.
I felt pretty good about it, but I'll tell you, on the way home, here's what I was thinking with it, okay? So the system, it's a genius system. It keeps you involved. The more you put in, the more you get out, all that stuff. But this is where I'm going to tie it all in, Eastbound and Down, all right? Kenny Powers, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so the tournament. So everything that this whole journey, this Jiu-Jitsu journey has done to me and taken me on, it's a very powerful thing. There's Scotty. Scotty, can we just get a little jingle? Are you coming in with? Oh, do it on my mic. Doesn't sound as good. Can you go in the booth and give me one too, please? It's 4:00 somewhere. And it's almost 4 here in California, 3:45 p.m. There you go. There you go. I love the acoustics in there. All right, so my first tournament, right? This whole journey is like, it's beautiful because you bow to each other. You know, you tap hands before you engage. The whole sport is centered around friction versus contact. Like contact, blunt force trauma. That's not what jiu-jitsu is about. But what's interesting, all right, because now I'm coming into like kind of tournament mode, and I've also got to a point, you know, I'm in a garage in Van Nuys with a bunch of these Brazilian black belts and brown belts, and I'm in the war, okay? I'm getting cauliflower ear, which is not good, okay? But now there's this whole thing like, I'm not going to wear these ear guards that these wrestlers wear. Fucking wrestling ear guards are I just won't do it.
You got to.
No, I'm going to get, no, no, I don't think I can, because here's where I'm feeling. It's like you're either all in or you're not, right? You can't, there's no pussyfooting around. You're either all in or you're not.
If you're a hockey player, you're going to lose some teeth. If you wrestle or do jiu-jitsu, you're going to get cauliflower ear.
I mean, I think that's the sacrifice that you make. But so that's part of it, right? But the thing that I'm getting into is the competitive juices that are coming up. So now I've been sparring for the last couple of weeks, like, you know, sparring hard in a garage in Van Nuys, and then also sparring at the studio that I train at, where there's some tough guys, but like, I want those competitive juices now, because it's an interesting combination where you're in the gym, in your studio, and it's all very respectful because we're learning from each other and we're rolling with each other, and we're not rolling like soft rolling. We're still going very, very hard. But it's a team atmosphere, right? Now I'm going to a competition on Sunday, and I'll be honest with you right now, my juices are flowing. Like I'm not going into a match to win by points. I'm going in to submit. Like I'm going in to break some of these guys. Like I'm going to break some of these guys. And if you know the sport a little bit, there's this. So the belt thing is interesting to me because I don't care. The belts are like not even a thing, because when I go into spar, I'll spar with a black belt. Like I'll spar with a black belt. You have nothing to worry about. A black belt's going to tap. As long as you're responsible and you tap early enough, you're never going to get hurt by a black belt, but you're going to learn about being in the worst possible situation you can be. And then I'll go over and I'll spar with the white belts. But the more that I spar with the black belts, the more that I'm breaking the white belts in sparring. So these competitions they're amateur competitions. You go in an age group. Like I'm going to be, I guess you call it fighting. I'm going to be fighting against men that are my age and my weight in white belts, which is, listen, I might be eating my words, but if there's 8 people, like I'm going in to win. I'm going in to run the table. I don't know how many, if that's 4 matches in a day to win the gold or whatever it is. And it's so funny to even think about winning the gold. Like I'm not really concerned about the gold, okay? I just want to go in there and I want to win. I want to smash these guys up, and I want to play a strategical game, a chess game.
Do you have a favorite like finishing move right now? Do you have something that you're going to be doing, or you're game planning?
Definitely, yeah. Like we're definitely, yeah. I mean, who knows? You know, I think because I'm in the heavyweight division, so guys can be big and they could also be my size, depending on a guy's size, his flexibility. But I'm comfortable in all positions now, which is like I'm becoming a problem. I'm becoming a real problem for some guys. It's just incredible, and I don't want to. It's not like this is anything of importance, but you know, this is what I'm doing. I had a quote. Somebody sent me. Oh, I know who sent this to me. I wanna read this one because I think this is a good one. Rick, if you're listening, yeah, Rick, here he goes. Okay. Let me read this one. This one's good. Oh, did he send it to me? Yeah. Well, hold on. Oh, God, I can't find it. What's that, Michael?
When you're watching these UFC fights, we had a big fight this weekend. Are you looking at like how some of these guys are setting up?
Oh, so the Gilbert Burns submission, it was amazing because, we saw Gilbert fight Hamzat, and that was an absolute war. I mean, they almost killed each other with the striking.
It almost proves that Gilbert shouldn't have done that.
Well, no, you know what it proves is that, I'll tell you, I don't think that the guy that he fought on Saturday was expecting a Gilbert to come at him with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I thought they probably thought that they were going to strike.
I mean, Neil Magny's a very, he's been in a lot of fights.
Yeah.
So I think, but it was the first time in a while that Gilbert Burns has been the guy that was favored. I mean, he's always been going up against the top 5. He's still in the top 5, and he handled number 12 easily.
Yeah. What the fuck does that have to do with anything when we're talking about
well,
the
maybe
jiu-jitsu,
maybe
Michael?
that's why he should have done jiu-jitsu with Khamzat.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. That's
it's about the. So when you ask me about do I have certain positions or moves that I like, finishes that I like right now? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm also, it's a real chess match of like understanding body types and size, and I always said that I can tell if a guy's a hockey player. Like you can just tell. I can tell the way a guy walks into a dressing room and the way a guy puts his equipment on. I know whether he's a player or not right away. As soon as you see him on the ice, take 2 or 3 strides. And it's the same with kids. Like a 12-year-old kid, I could look at a kid and go, this. I can tell by the way the kid puts his equipment on, how it looks on his body. A friend of mine has a 12-year-old son that plays, and I was like blown away at how good his gear looked on him. I was like, how did he learn? How did he learn to put the gear on so cool? So it is very interesting. Coming back to this whole thing of sometimes you got to bring the thunder, right? You get lost in the storm, and a true champion face to face with his darkest hour will do whatever it takes to rise above. A man fights and fights and then fights some more because surrender is death and death is for pussies. This can mean like, I guess what I was drawn to and why I started watching the show was the comedic value in it and understanding like, yeah, I'm a grown man going to a fucking amateur jiu-jitsu competition like Karate Kid, okay? It seriously looks like Karate Kid. Like everyone goes and I understand the comedy in that whole thing. But when I get there, I'm going to fucking try and smash these white belts. And I want to run the table on them. And, I definitely want to fight Tom Hardy before the year's out somewhere at a tournament and fuck him up. Like, this is fun.
Do you know what his belt is right now? Do you know where
I think he's a blue belt, which, honestly, the Brazilians in Van Nuys, they want to just give me my blue belt at this point. But the gym that I work out at, there's politics. It's like there's other guys there that have been there a little bit longer than me, and they got 3 stripes. It's like these stripes. I just want to get on the mat and let's fucking go. Sure. We'll tap hands and we'll go. All right.
How's your gas tank?
My gas tank is wild. It's so
because you said you were losing more weight doing the rolling and stuff.
Oh, my gas tank is unmatched. I mean, it is, yeah.
So like a day full of fights, I'll be able to
fine.
Hold up.
Oh, if I have time in between, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I will say my body is like I feel like I'm in the trenches. I feel like I'm like in a training camp. Cool. Which is very similar to, being in a training camp. Like my neck, I got cauliflower ear, my big toe. I can't even close my hands barely because the grips and everything are so much. But I just wanted to tie that whole thing around. Like that quote is an incredible quote. And it can mean, it could be you trying to do anything, win a 5K race, it's are you in it to win it like Eiserman, or are you interested in participation medals? The participation medal part is cool. I like that you're doing it. But I don't know. It feels like for me personally, I feel like really I'm going for it. I'm going for it. There's something I wanted to read, which I think kind of is somewhat interesting. Dave, yes?
I was just curious if we could come and get some
Absolutely.
video content.
You can come and watch and get video content. Yes.
Cool. Put some Cobra Kai Karate Kid music to the background.
There you go. Cobra Kai or the original Karate Kid?
The original Karate Kid music.
Yeah. Yeah. Who scored that, by the way? Can you look that up for me, Michael? Okay. I wanna go into this a little bit. Locus of control. Locus of control is the degree to which people believe that they, as opposed to external forces beyond their influence, have control over the outcome of events in their lives. So individuals with a strong internal locus of control believe events in their life are primarily a result of their own actions. For example, when receiving exam results, people with an internal locus of control tend to praise or blame themselves and their abilities. People with a strong external locus of control tend to praise or blame external factors, such as the teacher or the difficulty of the exam. So, just the basic concept of this, okay, locus of control. It's either an internal or an external. So, a person with an external locus of control attributes academic success or failure to luck or chance, a higher power, or the influence of another person, rather than their own actions. They also struggle more with procrastination and difficult tasks. I think that the other thing, locus of control, is one of the 4 dimensions of core self-evaluations. One's fundamental appraisal of oneself, along with neuroticism, self-efficacy, and self-esteem. The concept of core self-evaluations was first examined by Judge Locke in Durham, 1997. And it kind of blew my mind. It was like, it's so interesting, you know? And I guess what I'm trying to tie it all together of like the competition bug and the idea of where we're at. You know, I just saw Glenn Beck, and I don't know if you watch Glenn Beck or you listen to Glenn Beck, but he's pretty good. He's kind of built the legitimate, I don't even want to compare it to anything. Glenn Beck is a conservative television radio host who's he's built an empire. Very similar to, he's kind of the new Rush Limbaugh. Glenn Beck, he posted something very emotional on Instagram where he was talking about, and you know, every single day, these daily pundits, certainly a guy like Beck, breaking the news, you know, putting their neck out on the line to address the issues that we're all dealing with today. And there's not a lot that are doing it. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves. There's not a lot that are really, really doing it. You know, go and follow Jamie Kennedy on Instagram if you're not, because he's just having, his awakening is a beautiful thing. And seeing these people move forward, it's so great. But Beck, he kind of went into this long thing about how, you know, he feels connected to the listeners, right? And they were talking about something depressing that was going on in someone's life, and he kind of broke down because he said, you know, I have to be honest. I wanted to talk about this last week, but, you know, there's a lot going on in my home. Like, I got a lot going on with, and he made a reference to something's going on with his kids or one of his kids, and it was family issues. But since when did we have, like, I think we all need to realize and tap into our locus of control, all individually or as a group, and also give everyone around us a little slack and say, man, maybe the fucking 2 years that they locked us up at home really was a jarring experience. Even if you came out of the plandemic on the other side. Like if you did a lot of good things and you feel like in some ways it helped refocus you, I think now we're seeing the lingering effects. Like a punch-drunk fighter who gets hit too many times. Or, by the way, I mean,
Glover Teixeira.
Glover, fuck me. He just looked like a completely different person. He looked so slow.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens when you fight a guy that's 12 years younger than you.
Yeah.
And, 6 months in that career, like I saw that, who sent me, did you send me the Jeremy Roenick clip of him dancing at the...
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the infamous playoff game, or the exhibition game in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
That I fought
Yep.
Forsberg, that we can't find any tape of.
Got it.
Um,
And they had a problem with the glass, and so Jeremy was doing the dance along.
He did one of the greatest things that I've ever seen in the middle of I've never seen an NHL player do this. He basically, he was a live show in Vegas.
Totally.
He was a one-man show on the ice. It was the most incredible thing. But what people don't, so that was JR at the beginning of the season post-lockout. Now, JR he hardly played any games that year because he said the new skate sharpener couldn't get his skates right. JR and a bunch of other guys lost their step from that year off. They just couldn't get it back, right? Because they were at that point in their career. That's why I say with Glover, like 6 months since the last fight, he's 43. Like, it's just, that was it.
Yeah. And it was kind of nice to be able to have a legend like Glover to be able to have his, swan song be and in his home country. I wish the Brazilian fans would have stuck around and gave him a little bit more love at the end.
I wasn't really impressed with the Brazilian fans at all, or
Yeah,
that arena. It's not just have these fights in Vegas. Like, fuck. I don't know. It wasn't really impressive. I don't like any fights outside of Vegas.
Yeah.
But coming back to this whole thing.
Should they have stopped the fight? Sorry.
Yeah, those cuts were so bad.
Yeah.
Those cuts were so bad. But, I watched Rocky. I watched a couple of the Rockies this weekend, and these fighters, you're not going to stop a fight on one of these guys. These are these guys' moments. They have 15 of these moments in their entire life. You're not going to stop the fight.
So with Rocky, Bill Conti did the score for Karate Kid, but he also did all the Rockies.
There you go.
So Bill Conti, maybe we just need to get a Bill Conti score for Sean going into this.
Is he still? Yeah. Is he still alive?
He is. He's 80 years old.
Wow.
Yep.
Guy's probably chilling in Woodland Hills or something, just living fucking large, man.
Mm-hmm.
I see, if you ever want to see, every single day he eats lunch at Fred Siegel, who was Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed eats lunch every single day at Fred Siegel. What's his name?
Carl Withers.
Carl Withers. He eats every single day. Every single day. And the guy from Star Wars, the other black gentleman from Star Wars. It's so funny. The two of them both eat there, and they don't eat together. It'll come to me. Anyways, Glover, this pandemic, what's going on? What is your purpose? What are we serving right now? Who are we protecting? I just think it's all related. Also, there's a lot of shit going on. You see
Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams is there too. It's such a random. It's like a smorgasbord. Oh, Abby Libby at Abby the Lib. I don't know if this is Libs of TikTok, her new Twitter account. Anyways, she says, "Is Damar Hamlin alive or not?" She tweets that, and the first response you see is, "Please show him some respect and stop." And she writes back, "It's a question." Yes, it's a question. Period. That's good. Is Damar Hamlin alive or not? So they showed him They showed him at the game, which, man, he's come a long way from having a game canceled. Here's what I'll say about this. You didn't really see if it was him waving. There was a silhouette Michael's got me on some whole conspiracy thing now that they were talking online. Like, is that really him? We know about the previous picture where he wasn't hooked up to the machines. All I'm saying is, Lisa Marie Presley, okay, who was it last week? I mean, it's like, what is happening? And how are we strong internally? What are we tapped into right now that's giving us, a little bit of juice? Everyone must choose one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. I like that. All right. Everyone must choose one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Regret is terrible. While the government hires an army of 87,000 new IRS agents to harass average Americans, the Pentagon just failed a fifth audit and can't account for $220 billion in government property. That's wild. $220 billion in government property. So that can mean pretty much anything. Like, who knows, the COVID fucking masks that we bought that are sitting on runways or in container ships. Who knows? Google's about to slash 12,000 jobs, 6% of its global workforce. Microsoft laid off 10,000 people in 2 days. Facebook slashed 11,000 in December. Amazon has laid off 18,000. That's 51,000 from just 4 companies. And President Biden says the economy is going to be fine. We're about to enter into some dark times here. And, it seems like only the strong is going to survive. I talked about last week, Kristi Noem, South Dakota governor. I mean, she's trying to limit Chinese land buyers. That seems like a good idea. Seems like we should not allow communist China to come to America and buy up all of our land for whatever back fucking story shenanigans are going on behind the scenes. Whoever's tied into what. And I don't want to make this political because it's more about, like, the more that I remove myself from it, the better I feel. But also in removing myself, it's making me stronger to deal with the fight that we all have on a daily basis, because it's not easy out there right now. Somebody else, I saw this. This is a great. So I don't go to AA meetings. I've been to a few, but this is an AA term. I guess it's HALT. So HALT, HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Those are all things that you are supposed to avoid, which is sort of ironic when, like, lonely is one of them. And, it's incredible. And who knows what the percentages are, the statistics, people that broke their sobriety over the pandemic or the plandemic, or that have now a drinking problem because of the plandemic, And you look at this and you go, HALT. All right, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Just think of those 4 words. Maybe that's something that you can go, all right, where's my locus of control on this? And where do I sit inside of this? I'm telling you, because I feel alive with this, I guess, newfound passion. And it's really like a chess game.
Something you've talked about, players post-career, is you have to find something to do to keep yourself busy. What's the second half of your life look like? And I think that it's right on brand for you to be able to get some of your natural aggression and your natural competitive juices flowing in a controlled environment where it is an art. It's a martial art. You're learning not only a great skill, but you're learning to sort of hone some of those skills too.
Well, yeah, and look what happened when I tried to become a beer league player. I got fucking kicked out of the. I got kicked out of the arena. I got banned from that arena and every other arena that they owned. So it's like, yeah, you got to find not only retired athletes, everybody. We got to tap into some things that are. How do you make yourself a good man? on a journey to try and become a great man, because I don't think you could become really, truly great until you're at the end of your life and you're at the top of the mountain. You look down, you go, look at all the people that I've touched, or my family and this family and the whole thing. How did I protect mine? How did our piece of land grow? I don't know. It's very interesting. It makes me sentimental to think about this whole Bruce Boudreau situation in Vancouver, because you brought up his stats and we talked about it a little bit. So Bruce Boudreau has been in the game for 50 years. Shout out to Al Avery, who played with or against Bruce, who they called Gabby. That's his nickname. The guy was an unbelievable player, not at the NHL level, but because he was just so small. I mean, if you look at him, what a heart of gold this guy has. Loves wrestling. I've had some fuck you battles with him back and forth in the Washington days, which were like authentic, truly, Gabby telling me to fuck off and me telling him, calling him a fat guy in a little coat, whatever it was. Like, Ovechkin, the whole thing. Bruce Boudreau he's a gamer. He's a player. He walks into a room. Mario Lemieux and Gretz are going to walk across the room and say hi to Bruce Boudreau. I guarantee you that, okay? No one's going to shun themselves to Bruce Boudreau in a room full of Hall of Famers. So they essentially hired Rick Tocchet. And what's also funny, when I had my one phone call for the TNT job, or one of the jobs, or whatever the fucking job was, right? I made a point to say to the gal that was doing the interviewing, I was like, listen, I said, I don't know, but if it was me, I would be very careful about hiring people to be on these panels that were using them as stepping stones to get jobs. And it was like, okay, so I was implying Talk. You're going to hire Talk, Gretz's best buddy. These guys are playing a game, right? Gretz is helping Talk. Talk's helping himself. He's going to get an NHL job. The good news is at least he's hired Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar. Gonchar, you want to talk about a power play. Gonchar is a nasty player. Was a nasty player. Like Gonchar, Zubov. Gonchar was a warrior too. That guy played better and bigger games. But the whole Boudreau thing in his exit interview, what a guy, man. Talking about like 15 guys that already come up to him and they were already crying in there. And he stayed out on the bench to savor it a moment because you never know when he's going to get back there. He knew that he was getting fired, and they had him coach for 2 extra games, which is sort of unheard of. I mean, one of the beautiful things about sports is like the controversy that comes around it and the mystery of where are you on that day when so-and-so got fired, right? Like, where were you when so-and-so got hired, that coach? It's a mystery. It's steeped in tradition. So to know that this guy, and for Gabby to coach 2 more games, knowing that he was getting fired and that they had already hired Rick Tocchet, it just says a lot about the guy, and to go out the way that he did with such class and dignity, in the wrestling belt. Like, I love Bruce Boudreau. Where does Bruce Boudreau fit in? Like, Bruce Boudreau essentially should be on the TNT panel. If you want to really build that thing properly, you put him on it in an environment where he can shine, not with like 4 other dull dudes or a few women that they sprinkle on, which is also quite interesting. Sportsnet is the wokest fucking company. Whoa, man, oh man. They are so woke. They have more female Olympians than NHLers on their networks. Yeah. Listen, I don't know. I'm not saying something that is outside the lines, okay? It's a truth, and it's a reality. Now, I don't have the Kashmir Mafia backup card to defend myself. My sister's not an NHL player or a hockey player or Olympian, whatever. All right. Shout out to Sherry Piper, who I think I had a crush on way back in the day at the Fitness Institute. She was a female hockey player.
Yeah.
We're talking like 1997, 98 maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Gabby, I love the man. It also makes me think about and you brought so the Sutter clip, right?
Yeah.
So Michael showed me this Daryl Sutter. They asked him the other day. He had a rookie play. Was the kid what's the special story about this kid?
His name is Jacob, Peltier.
Okay.
It was his first ever NHL game.
Yeah.
And,
Whoop-de fucking do.
So you're one of the few that feel like,
It's incredible. Twitter is such a machine now. Like M&M's just changed their whole future because they got teased by Tucker Carlson on social media about the rainbow M&Ms, and Twitter has become this place that actually can dictate. And I can't believe I'm having this revelation right now because I don't use it ever, but it's what made companies woke. It's the tool, the engine, the coal in the furnace that has changed the trajectory of the world that we're living in right now. But I also think it's going to be a catalyst in expelling the fire. But the fact that this is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was asked about like what he thought about the kid's first game, and Sutter just reads off his stats sheet for the day.
Yeah.
And then moved right along.
And people were upset by that.
Felt like it was a little disrespectful. But also there was a comment said that, before he played that game against Tampa Bay, that he was the first player under 22 years old that had played for the Calgary Flames all season.
Oh, so, whoop-de-fucking-do.
Well,
whoop-de-fucking-do.
I think that they're seeing that the model is that you need to be able to draft well, and some of these entry-level contract kids need to be in your lineup to be able to be competitive so you can
you should have been asking the questions, Michael. You asked a lot of good questions at your Rob Blake lunch.
Oh, I had a great time, yeah.
Yeah. But that's the question to ask instead of what do you think of this kid's first game?
Well,
it's a nominal thing.
It's something that I had lunch with Rob Blake. It was a benefit given to season ticket members, so we were all kind of in a classroom sort of setting.
Yeah, nobody wanted to ask questions, so Michael got to ask five questions.
I got to answer.
And you asked some good ones.
Yeah,
what was the one about? Why don't more GMs make offer sheets?
Yeah.
Which is a good question.
Yeah, and it seemed to be like they were saying that if you do it, it's going to come back on you. And we saw that with Carolina and Montreal. But I still think if you got a restricted free agent in Cole Caulfield or a restricted free agent, some of these guys that are game breakers, maybe it's worth the risk.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to justify it with me. I know what his yeah. They don't do it because it's an old boys club and nobody wants to get in that type of war. And you shouldn't have to rely on it. You should have to build your team through the draft.
But I did ask him too, the era in which Rob Blake played and you played. We're seeing a lot of those players kind of start to take over.
Well, yeah, they're all buddies.
The vision of the league is, and I think that doing it a particular way has proven successful. Not, I brought up Yzerman. He immediately said, "Look at Sakic's already brought a ring home."
Well, he's Sakic's boy. They won Stanley Cup together. I mean, Sakic, yeah.
But I said Marty St. Louis is a first-year coach or first-time coach. Coaching the Montreal
Just stay
Canadiens.
focused on GMs. We're talking about GMs right now.
Just the era.
Yzerman built a fucking a legacy in Tampa Bay, and then he left to start Detroit, and then Tampa started winning. So, I mean, yes, Blakey can say Sakic. Yeah, of course. But anyways, coming back to the whole Sutter thing, if I send my young man off to learn about the world, I want it to be Daryl Sutter. That's one of the guys that I would be so excited to be able to sit back and go, look at my son and I had the ability to play under Scotty Bowman. Like, thank God, I had a lot of bad coaches after that, but it just brings me back to the Sutter thing. I want Sutter. If I'm Vancouver, how do you not hire Mike Babcock? I mean, I know he's bringing in Foote and Gonchar. Like, that's cool and all right? And maybe that's actually, I eat my words for a second because I think of Babcock untraditional, didn't really play the game. Maybe Talk's doing it the right way now, where he's bringing in these gangsters with him and not a bunch of yes men around him, where you're really stacking the deck and you're bringing these OGs in and saying like, no, this is who we're going to go to war with. Guys that have been in this war and been very successful in it. And now we have kids in the league and like we're still attached to it. So I just think the Bruce Boudreau thing also, I think it's a tough time to be a hand holder. You know, I'm not sure hand holders with a bunch of other sort of whatever you're going to call them, millennials or kids that have grown up with their hands being held. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic where we're at right now, but we all need guidance. You don't have to be a heavy hand, but you can be you could be a wise, like, been there, done it, kid, trust me hand. This is what you're going to do. This is the steeps and valleys of this thing, understanding. That's why, you know, it's interesting. Now I go, and that's what makes Babcock and a guy like Tortorella not great coaches, because they didn't play the game. And their panic levels, they just don't understand it. But
speaking of inexperience, Alvin, the general manager, has now been with Vancouver for a year. This is how he's handled the first like big shakeup this way, and it's kind of a little bit of a stain at the beginning of his general manager career. It just didn't feel like the disrespect to Bruce Boudreau was necessary at all, no matter what you were thinking. And Boudreau was brought on by Jim Binning, so as a new general manager too, you want to get your own guy. I just feel like
yeah, but you're really in the weeds on this one. It's fucking Rutherford. He's the president. I mean, normally it's the GM's job. I don't know. Glenn Sather was the GM and the president. You're not firing these guys. They're all twisted. I just hope Gabby ends up on the TNT panel. They really fucked up. They should have hired Subban. They should have got rid of Anson Carter. Subban should be on there with Biz doing his biz, whatever the Biz does. The other straight cut shill, the white guy, whatever his name is. You could have built an interesting panel, but I don't watch hockey and watch that shit. So it's the product is too good right now. Makachev, Volkanovsky.
Oh yeah, in Perth. So we'll see how that performance is as far as how you said you didn't really like the Rio scenario. Let's see what happens in Australia.
I think the crowd will be. I think it's a different animal, and they just have better facilities. It's like Brazil. I'm wondering where they're pilfering their electric from. Like, it just doesn't look like it. They got their shit together over there. But Makachev, Volkanovsky. I was listening to Bilal Muhammad talk about, because he went over and trained with those guys in Dubai. And he was talking about their jiu-jitsu and their wrestling and talking about Khabib. And, there's no nonsense over there. If guys come up into the gym and they look tired, Khabib takes their phone away for 24 hours. He's like, you're tired. What else? Your family's not here. We're in training camp. Obviously, you're on your phone all night. Give me your phone for 24 hours. They spar hard. You don't halfway spar. He talked very specifically about how those guys spar every round to win. I mean, Khabib only lost a few rounds. Maybe he lost one round. I'm thinking about it too in the sense of like, when we take our kids out into the public these days and we hand them over to coaches, the new generation of coaches, and what jiu-jitsu gym or karate studio do you choose? It's so important. The ones that are the right ones are found, because I'm not saying turning these kids, pushing these kids, but the discipline, because there's so much craziness outside, TikTok and all this shit, and kids aren't smart enough to understand their locus of control. They need the guidance. These coaches are so important. It's so important. What else? What else do you have? Anything?
Any interest in talking about the All-Star rosters?
No, God, no.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
There was a pretty cool thing. big fan, big listener here. Joey Palmiotti from New York City turned me on to a thing, wanted me to share a big
Band
cool
of
benefit.
Yeah, so Band of Parents. Band of Parents will host the 9th annual Play Like a Pro charity hockey game in memory of Talia Castellano. What an unbelievable New York Italian name. Talia Castellano. At Madison Square Garden on Monday, February 6th. The game benefits the Band of Parents and the Garden of Dreams Foundation. And they've raised over $1 million to fund innovative clinical trials for pediatric cancer and make dreams come true for children in need. So basically, if you raise enough money, you get the ability to play in this game. And they rented out Madison Square Garden. It's the 9th year that they've been doing it. To register, to play, or to sponsor a player, go to p2p.onecause.com. p2p.onecause.com. That's very cool.
It is super cool.
It's very, very cool. I mean, what other opportunity would you have to play in Madison Square Garden? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Everyone must choose one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Locus of control. I want you to understand the differences because I think it's very important that we start identifying some of these internal or external factors. All right. I don't know. Dave, do you have anything?
We're now posting all of the full episodes on YouTube.
There you go, Dave.
Hey.
There you go.
At the Action Park Media YouTube page,
Action Park Media, and we're going to try to, every emergency podcast, every weekly podcast, we're going to try to have it the day of release or the next day.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's a good idea. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk to Scotty about, but I saw this YouTube video of a symphony doing the Jaws soundtrack.
I saw that too.
What an incredible... Was that not like one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen?
It was awesome.
What a moving piece of music when you see it done by like professionals in that setting.
Have you been to the Walt Disney Concert Hall?
No, I
seen any
should.
of the LA Phil?
I should.
They do a really cool thing up at, I think it's Wednesdays during the summer.
At the Hollywood Bowl?
The Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, Fish is coming to the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, cool.
The Wookiees are, it's been a long time since Fish has been allowed to play at the Bowl, but they're coming back, and that's going to be fun. All right.
Can I, one last hockey thing?
Oh, fuck.
Well, this is for you. I'm going to tee
What?
this up for you.
Okay.
Cooch, the third highest scorer in the league right now. He's tied for the most assists in the league with 48. So, like you said, I feel like the guys
He's
with
the
Tampa are starting to really
yeah.
they're really starting to get things rolling. And
They had a tough road trip. They were out on the road for 5 games. I think they lost the last 2. That's a long road trip, all right? You go from Florida to the West Coast.
you got the long All-Star break coming up too, so you're just trying to get to that, I guess.
Yeah, but also you play in Florida. Now you got to bust out all your winter clothes, your winter jackets, your hats. You're going to Calgary, Alberta. It's fucking dark and depressing, and all these teams want to take the shot at the big boys. You know, it's a tough road trip. Cooch is undeniably the best player in the game right now. Everybody wants to talk about McDavid, 40 goals in 48 games, breakaways, speed, yada, yada, yada. I get it, all right? We're going to have an exciting second half. This is when it turns up. The heat gets turned up. And just one last thing. Social media pressures. Fucking social media. You know, what is social media? It's like a dopamine. It's like a dopamine. We got to take back control. All right? We got to take back control. Sometimes when you bring the thunder, you get lost in the storm. And a true champion, face to face with his darkest hour, will do whatever it takes to rise above. A man fights and fights and then fights some more, because surrender is death, and death is for pussies. Episode 42, no Gruffs given. We'll see you next week.
Action Park
Media.